was gonna say good morning, but it's not good morning anymore. Good morning. Well, it is good. Well, whatever. We're gonna go with good morning, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Lunchtime, still 7 minutes past noon, so it's still morning. Thank you for accompanying us today with Success Without Borders. Today we have Lisa Nguyen with REMAX. Lisa, introduce yourself real quick.
Hi everybody, I'm Lisa Nguyen. I am the team leader of the international group at REMAX Professionals. We do residential, commercial, and business sales. My team speaks 10 different languages, and we pride ourselves in helping the community. Outside of that, I'm the president-elect for the Denver Metro Association of Realtors, so really excited to lead the association next year.
Yay! Well, that goes into our theme of the day, which is leadership. And we have one of Denver's greatest leaders here today. Thank you for accompanying me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I just started this show a month ago, and I had one in Spanish, and we would do gratitudes, but at some point you kind of get over the gratitude. So today I actually dreamt about this last night.
Oh, nice.
I want you to think about a random act of kindness that you have experienced, and I want you to share that with us.
A random act of kindness that I've experienced. Oh my gosh, I've experienced so many different things. I'm just trying to think of the one that has been the most impactful. I had a title friend. His name's Michael Brooks, but there was one day when he called me, and I don't know what happened that day, but he was just calling to check in, and he's like, "Are you okay?" But it happened to be on a day that I wasn't okay. Like, I actually really was not okay. It was such a dark place. I was going through so much in my life at that time, and he's like, "Where are you at?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm at my REMAX office." And he drops everything and brings some Thai food and sits in the office with me while I'm crying and eats with me and just sits with me until I was okay again. But I literally never forgot that moment. He's such a kind person, and it leads me into thinking about the human side of things. Everybody sees these leaders, they see all these advocates in the community, and you forget at the end of the day that everybody's human too. People are going through hardships within their families, financial problems. We all have those days, and sometimes all somebody needs is for you to just sit with them, not say anything, but just sit with them and be present with them and be human with them. And that was a moment when I felt like somebody was listening to me and heard me. And I don't know, I honestly don't think I would have made it through that day if he hadn't done that. But it was just so random that he called me to ask if I was doing okay. So yeah, that's one random act of kindness. Didn't cost too much to go pick up lunch, but his time definitely meant a lot to me. So I never forget him to this day for that.
What about a random act of kindness you've done for someone?
Oh. I don't know why, but this, I'll bring this up. I don't like to talk about some of the stuff that I do, but my children and I will go to McDonald's or Wendy's and we'll pick up 30 hamburgers or cheeseburgers, and I'll bring my kids downtown, and we hand it out to people we see sitting in the side of the street. And it's not something that I generally post, but it's something that I do to teach my children to have empathy for others. Another thing that I did, and this is something that a lot of parents could do, my daughters have so many teddy bears that they've collected over the years, and instead of throwing them in bags and taking them to the Goodwill, I actually started putting a whole bunch of them in my trunk. So as I drive around throughout town and you see people asking for money, sometimes there's little children sitting there too. So there's been times I've popped my trunk real quick and gotten out of the car and given some kids some of these teddy bears that we would have brought to the thrift store anyways. And one day, this woman pulls up next to me in the car, and she's like, hey, roll your window down. And I was like, crap, what is she gonna say? And she's like, hey, my son is autistic, and he just saw what you did for those kids back there. And she just said, like, thank you for your generosity. And it wasn't something that was so hard, because these are things we all have. You can also keep, like kits in the back of your car with toothpaste and toiletries and things like that. We don't think that, everybody tends to have this misconception that everybody that's homeless are just lazy or they're not working. That's not always the case. Sometimes, people have lost the main provider of money in their family, and or they're running America in 1975. I know what it feels like to be those kids. And so I always think back and I'm like, we were those kids one time. So it doesn't cost much. It's not like, anybody's doing anything illegal by giving some kids on the street some teddy bears. But those little type of things that, those maybe that's all that those kids will have. So I try to always think of that. And I get a lot of crap all the time for giving money to people on the streets. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're having the hardest day of their life today. So I don't care. Whatever they do with it is their choice. I can live my life how I want to live my life. And I can assist how I want to assist. And whatever they do with it is on them.
Right. That is truth. Yeah. I usually carry the big protein boxes, protein bars, the ones that you just saw me eating right now. I usually carry boxes of those in my car, and I hand them out as well. Something easy, quick you can grab too as well. That's handy, right? Or water bottles in the summer.
Anything, water bottles, toiletries. Like we don't think women, they need feminine items. Children need toys. Maybe the kids don't even care about eating that day, but something like that really makes their day. They're having to sit on the street, and it's not by their fault. They're children. It's not like they asked to be put in that position. So.
Yep. Ah, that was a good idea to start talking about random acts of kindness today. Well, Lisa, as a leader in the community, as a leader in your house, right, as a leader all around, what does the word leadership mean to you? Tell us your definition.
My definition of being a leader is basically putting your money where your mouth is. Not just talking about it, being about it. My definition of leadership is doing things even without the title. Like let's say you go into something, you lose something. Doesn't matter. The title doesn't matter. What matters is the actual work that you're doing for the community. Setting a good example. I always say doing the right thing even when no one's watching. That's leadership to me. The second leg of leadership is making sure that you set up other people. So as you've reached certain levels of success, it's an obligation to try to path other people forward, provide opportunities for others who would have never had that opportunity without you. And maybe you don't have a ton of resources, but you can still mentor somebody else. Let's say you're a good public speaker, like you're on the radio, and somebody else isn't. They're a great leader, but they don't know how to speak yet. You can teach them how to speak. Maybe there's somebody that has never, they're more shy and that's not their thing, but they want to make connections. They want to go to networking events, bring them to a networking event. I always think about small businesses and my friends and what we can do to assist each other, right? If you're going to do something, do an event and help your friend. Or if you're going to take a business meeting, go to your friend's coffee shop, go to their restaurant, think about your friends, think about your network. I always say, feeding ourselves before we feed somebody else. It's the same concept of like when you're on the airplane and they say put the mask on yourself first before you do your children, because if you pass out, you're not going to be able to help anybody else in that instance. And so it's the same concept. Is that take care of yourself, get yourself set up, and then it's time to help other people once you're set and then put in that position.
Can you give us? I love it. Love the definition, by the way, because kind of bringing it back to real life, right? And what we see. What do you think the world thinks that leadership means right now?
Oh, that's tricky.
I want you to be raw and just.
For God's sake, I don't know how to say this any different, but whether you're left or you're right, can we just meet halfway in the middle and love each other? I am so tired of seeing everybody fight each other. I'm seeing people getting to political battles online. I can't turn on the TV without seeing people fight each other on the street. It's like people are ending friendships and relationships with how they feel. And the nice thing about this country that I have always loved, and the thing that I'm so proud to be an American, is that we have the freedom. We have the freedom to feel and speak and do as we like in this country. If we were in other countries, we wouldn't always have that freedom, especially even as a woman, right? There's freedoms that are given to us. But I would hope that everybody would act in a way that's at least respectful for one another. That's the human side. Be respectful to one another. Leadership right now, you could go both ways. Every single leader, what I say is every leader brings a specific skill set that they are good at, right? Maybe some people are good at business, some people are good at humanity, some people are good at leading others. And I don't necessarily know if there's one right or one wrong way to do things, but I do know that there is different ways to do things. And if we just learn to accept each other's differences, maybe then we will stop fighting. So at the end of the day, we still need each other. It doesn't matter how good you are of a leader. You can't do it by yourself. That's what I always tell people. It doesn't matter how good you think you are. There's actually somebody out there, and I know this myself, that can do it 50 times better than you. So as good as you think you are, you're always replaceable, and there's always somebody else out there that could do it. But a good leader knows how to put a team together, similar to like if you were to go into a war and I was leading people through a revolution or a war, right? Would you be able to get your troops to feel inspired to go work with you, to follow you, to, run into the stands in that war? The type of leader I would be is I would be in the front running in to death. Like I would go into death with my people. So that's just, when I say my people, it's whatever organization I'm serving, whatever it is that my cause that I believe in, I'm willing to run in with my soldiers. So I guess that there are leaders that will hide in the room and make everybody do the dirty work for them, and there are those that will run with alongside people. That's the type of leader that I am. I'm walking alongside them, far enough in the front to lead them, but not so much that that people are behind me. I like to think of us as walking together because there is strength in numbers.
I love it, right? A lot of us think, right, and even growing up where we came from, we see leaders and we see these people, and like you said earlier, and I love how you said it, it's not a title. It's not something that you achieve, right? Leadership is not something that here now you're a leader. It's something that you live day by day, right? It's a way of life, because you could be a leader in your life when you're sitting in your living room talking to yourself, right? How you lead yourself, how you lead your family, your children, your friends. It all comes together. And a lot of us think that leadership isn't something that we do, it's something that is attained. And why is that? Because we see a lot of these leaders out here in the community. We could go from store managers, business owners, right? Political parties, whatever we can call it. And a lot of it has been distorted to power. Would you agree?
Yeah, it is power. I mean, people perceive it as a certain way. I know that those that don't know me out there would just look at me. They wouldn't know that before I even became president-elect of DMR Brand 7 years ago, I couldn't even get on the board. I continued to serve my community despite not making it on the board, and I worked for another 5 years until I finally got on the board, and I had to work my way up from there. Eventually, now I'll be stepping into the presidency next year, but I don't think of it as a position. I mean, I've been doing this for so long and serving for so long, and actually, people think I like to be in the spotlight, and it couldn't be any more further than the truth. If it wasn't for my business, I'd probably just go into hiding and go live on a farm and plant stuff somewhere. But I mean, this is how I earn a living and take care of my children. So I guess I don't know if it's what is that thing that a lot of leaders go through, imposter syndrome, where you almost don't feel like you deserve it or you don't believe in yourself. I keep hearing that, and somebody told me, oh, maybe that's something you have, and I was like, I guess so, because I've never just thought that I was deserving of it, or I never thought that I was impactful until these things started happening, and people would come up and tell me, hey, you really inspired me. I'm also a single mom. I've been following you for years. And it's people I would never even expect to tell me that. I didn't even think people cared or anything.
Or were watching. Right?
Yeah, I didn't realize they were even watching. It's random people from other states I didn't even know knew who I was. But that's the type of things that you need to pay attention to as a leader, is you never know how your words can positively impact somebody, but also negatively impact them. I mean, the one example that I think about is when I was in citywide orchestra as a child. I was such a good violin player. I went from one school to another school, and I don't know what happened in this one class, but the teacher looked at me and she's like, well, if you think you're so good, why don't you play this song? And she put me on the spot and had me play a song in front of the whole class. And she's like, you didn't even play it right. Your notes were flat. And I quit orchestra after that, and I never played again. And that was just something a random teacher told me as a child. But think about that impact that could have had. I could have went on to play in the symphony or something like that. I mean, I was playing William Tell as a 12-year-old and really high level first chair, first violin, and in citywide orchestra. But yet I had this one teacher that put me on the spot and embarrassed me, and I never played again. And so we never know, us saying something to somebody can, push them into never wanting to do something again. So I always think of that in leadership too, not only the positive impact you can have, but also saying something really mean to somebody, and that impact you can have on their life. And some of these effects are generational, especially in home ownership, as we're thinking about getting people into homes. It's not just one generation that you're changing, it's multi generations.
Give us examples of scenarios where you see this happen a lot, where limitations are brought on generationally for home ownership.
I think I'll go back to the beginning of my career, maybe 20 years ago, and there's people that I have worked for that, were living in the projects at that time, right? And I've had to show hundreds of houses to some of them and try to make it work with not so high of a price point, right? I got asked the other day, they're like, do you only do this and that? And I was like, I'll do anything. I actually pride myself. One of the gals on my team was like, Lisa, fun fact about us, we're the only ones in our company that have sold a trailer home, because we looked on the MLS, $70,000 trailer home, and it doesn't matter to me. I don't care if it's a trailer home or a $6 million commercial building. Our clients are all treated the same, and I never, think I'm too good for business. I never, if you were one of those kids that live in the projects, that came out of the projects, how could you come out and make it in life and then all of a sudden start thinking you're better than other people? Because I see that happen all the time, especially in this industry. Some agents get lucky and they start doing deals, and then they think that allows them the opportunity to go put down newer agents. And I tell people, I'm like, you had to start from somewhere too. We all had to start from somewhere. I've been screamed at by other agents, like, for making mistakes. Maybe if we would just be like, hey, you made a huge mistake, but I'm gonna show you how you need to do this, or coach them or help them. Tenured agents helping newer agents. I've also seen people that are like, we don't work in this specific price point, which I think is a mistake. You forget that sometimes these people come out of the projects, they end up becoming millionaires in the future. That's just their first house. Eventually they have children, they get houses, and then their wealth grows, and they're not in those positions anymore. But it's not even really about the money. If you can think of it about the generational impact that you'll have, and keeping that at the forefront of your heart as you're going through business, I think that is a lot more impactful. Just thinking about those things. But I think that I'm most proud of some of the smaller deals that I've done. They're 50 times harder to do, but if I look back and think about some of these deals, such as a trailer home manufactured, or getting somebody out of a bad situation, I feel like I made more of an impact on some of those deals, and those are definitely deals other people would have given up on.
That is true. That is true. I see that a lot too as well. Still to this day, right? And it goes back to that leadership. Sorry, I'm sick today, guys. I am very congested, so I might be choking on my words here.
No, I can even tell, actually.
Sorry, but I don't know. Again, it goes back to what you said. Being a leader, it's doing the right thing even when no one's seeing, right? And just helping those when in need. Doesn't mean that your $6 million commercial buyer doesn't need your help. It doesn't mean that your trailer home person doesn't need help, right? It's just doing the right thing for the right people and having that heart in it. And like you said, it's not getting lost in the power that comes with, I don't even want to say leadership. It's with the position that you get put into, right? Because leadership is every day. It's having that integrity and living and doing the right thing when no one's seeing as well. And most people are leaders out in public, out in the internet, right? But once they shut the camera off, once social media is gone, they're not nice. They're not good people, right? And that's what we're trying to change here. That's what Success Without Borders is all about, right? It's trying to build this community so we can bring leaders, not just business owners, not just people in high positions, but leaders in our community, single moms that are out there advocating for one another, and we don't know about them. That's going to be a guest next week right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring a friend that's gone through a lot of problems as a single mom. So leadership is defined, and it's going to be based on your perspective, but we're all just here trying to do the best. And what I see, Lisa, is that a lot of people think as leadership is a position and not a way of life, right? So then they kind of are like, oh, I'm not a leader. I don't have to be responsible. I don't have to treat people well because I'm not in the eye of the public. But it kind of goes back to this teacher that you said, right? Teachers have to be leaders in that classroom. Why? Because they're leading our kids to the future. And if they're the ones tearing us down, what if? How many other people out there, how many of you have experienced Alexis, do you know Alexis? I'm thinking, I don't know if you know Alexis. How would you help motivate someone on your team or a friend as a leader?
How would I help motivate them? I think you'd have to identify what their weaknesses are. So I'll ask my team. I'll be like, what do you need help doing better? Some are like, I'm not really good at networking. Some are like, I'm not very good at public speaking. I get really nervous. Or I think a good leader is able to identify their weaknesses, but then also their strengths. So if they are shy and you are trying to force them to be this good public speaker, that may not happen, but they may have this other skill set, like they're really good at research and looking up stuff. So put people where, help put them in a position where they're set up to succeed with what they are good at. And not everybody's good at everything, and that's okay. I always tell people this all the time, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, that's okay. You don't have to like me, right? You don't have to respect or anything, but we do all have to work together at the end of the day. So I think finding their weaknesses and their strengths, and then helping them to put a path together, right? A plan on how we're going to get there. So if you're not really good at speaking, then maybe you need to start coming, or every week we go around in a round table, do our 5-minute elevator speech, and allows them to do scripts and begin to say things. And it takes 28 days to form a habit. So if you keep doing something repetitively over and over again, it eventually becomes a habit. It becomes a little bit easier. I've watched people in different phases of their leadership journey, and it's really nice to it. It's really nice to know that you had a part of it or an impact in it. But I would love to talk with you, Alexis, offline too, if you have any more questions or anything. Happy to help.
Can you give me an example of when you first started in your career of good, and again, we're going to remove now the leadership aspect because we already know we're supposed to do this on a daily basis. It's a way of life. But mentors. Can you give me an example of a good mentor that impersonated leadership well, and someone that did not have leadership skills when you first started, or even recently?
I would say, so one of my biggest mentors, his name was Mike Reagan. He was in senior leadership at Remax World Headquarters, and I just happened to see him on some commercial ads, and we were in the Ritz-Carlton, and he was in the hallway, and I walked up to him, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're Mike Reagan. I'm with this association, why don't you come in? And I was telling him about how I always dreamed about working for Remax when I was younger, but I couldn't afford it. But now that I'm an agent in the company, that I'm living out my dream, and telling him how my parents only came to America with $20 in their pocket. And he looked at me and he's like, you'd make a really good story one day. And then Remax ended up publishing a story about my journey and putting me in the front page of the Remax magazine. And I don't know if that was the time when things started to change in my life or whatever, but throughout the years, I would see him at different conferences raising money for Children's Miracle Network, being on stage, really being such a professional. And I just have so much respect for him because I attribute a lot of my success of where I'm at to him to this day, being such a great leader in the company and having supported so many different people throughout the duration of his career. I probably won't mention any names about a not so good leader,
don't mention names.
But I won't mention names with this person. But it was an agent that I worked with earlier on in my career, and I sent over some inspection objection, and I must have done something wrong. I don't know what was going on that day with my kids. I was just really burnt out and tired. I sent it to him. He starts screaming at me on the phone, and like it was so much where he's just like, "Are you listening?" And I was like, "Yeah, are you finished talking?" And I like started crying, and I usually don't do that because I'm more of a professional. It's one of the few times I started crying in business, but it wasn't a good day. And like sometimes even as like a single mom, you're just exhausted. Like there's just moments where you're just like, I can't even, and I hear this from a lot of moms where they just go in the closet to cry, or they have to sit in their car and cry because they're so exhausted. It's not even from work. And after he called me, like later, he called me after that and he said, I have to apologize that I spoke to you like that. I think he finally thought about how mean he was. And I just said, you know what? It's fine. I was just having a really bad day. You just caught me in the middle of a bad day. Like, I'll correct my mistake. But I think back to that. And I see him to this day all the time. And I don't even know if he remembers who I am because he's so high up there. But I almost want to tell him what he did. But it's not even worth it. I mean, sometimes I want to come up to him and be like, do you remember when I was that rookie agent and you were screaming at me and this and that? But, I kind of don't forget who he is. And so I always throw that out there that you might be doing a ton of business, you might talk to somebody a certain way, and they're going to remember how you treat them. So that was an instance of leadership where I do remember that. And I'm just attributing this back to real estate because that's a lot of what I do is the real estate industry.
Okay. Can you tell me what advice you would give Alexis and anyone else that's listening to us worldwide?
Oh, I didn't realize this was all over the world. I'm looking at that map. Oh, visitors by country. We have Peru, Germany, Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, Singapore, Japan. Nice.
What would you tell them how to model leadership every day in their lives? As a person, not as a business owner. And how do you do it? What do you do every day, every morning? What's your morning ritual? What does that look like?
So my morning rituals, I wake up and I try to be grateful, even if it's really, really crappy day. I know we talk about those gratitudes. It's so cliche to be like, but for whatever it is that you're going through and you think it's the end of the world, maybe you didn't have enough money to pay your rent that much, but there's people that didn't have food to eat that morning. So there's people in even worse position than you. Regardless of how bad you think your problem is, there usually is somebody that's doing something worse, or going through something worse. And so I wake up, I have an attitude of gratitude, and then I try to think about what I can do in that day to be impactful. And being impactful, like I said, sometimes doesn't cost money. I texted somebody that I had ran into out of state last night because they were upset over something like personal that happened, and I'm just like, are you okay? And she's like, no, I'm not okay. Things like that doesn't cost you any money to check in on somebody to make sure they're doing okay. And then the second part of that is I always say little things become big things. So, you think your little act isn't that big, but if you do it long enough, those little things become big things. And so I don't ever think of it as, everybody's like, well, I just don't have the time. And I'm like, even if you don't have the time, just do a little thing every single day. By the end of the month, that's 30 little things that you have done. And that becomes impactful. Multiply that by the year. That's 365 little things you did. By the end of the year, that's not little things. That's a bunch of little things you've done which have been impactful that have become big things. So depending on where you are, I mean, it is not impossible to do at least one thing every day.
What's the one thing you've done today?
What is the one thing I've done today?
I did tell you I was going to put you on the spot.
Oh man. I'm trying to even think about this morning. This is just with my kids. When I drop off 4 kids in the morning, so I don't even know how I heard this many sheep. I have 3 children and then I pick up my niece and nephew. I drop off my children in the morning. Before they get out of the car, I tell each of them that I love them and I tell them to be kind to others before they even walk in school. So that was just something I tell the kids. I'm like, be kind to others. And whether they listen or they don't, they get out of their car and they walk into their school day like that. That's something very, very little, but we're basically teaching our children how to treat other people too. So it starts with you, and then you're raising these little humans, and hopefully they're going out into the world and using whatever you have as an example and then doing good with that. Something very, very simple. Be kind to others. And it's only, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock,
So there's still more time. I'm going to read Alexis' comment outside. He said, I try to be grateful to and say things, but I sometimes forget. It's kind of like flossing, you need to do it, and you can only do it at any time for 60 to, I can't even read right now, Lisa. Wow.
30 to 60 seconds, but we swear it's hard to do and practicing a lot on the road and flossing, right? Yeah, that little thing that you do. Send a text message to somebody, help somebody's business, right? You see how you can connect certain people. Always do it in from a place of love, though. If you are calling, don't call because you want business from them. Just call to see how they're doing. It's not always a most of everything I do. It's never attached to business. I just genuinely hang out with people.
Yeah.
And then the business, it just organically comes, kind of like how we met. We were just sitting there having Mexican food, and you were like, hey, I have this loan product, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have somebody that didn't qualify at this bank. Like, how can we get you connected? Those things happen organically just through meeting.
That is true. How would you say you're a leader in your family? You already kind of talked a little bit. You kind of stole the flow into that. What would you say? I'm gonna bring it back to the basics. To the basics. What did you learn outside of what your parents told you how to be and how to grow up? What leadership did they model for you to make you the woman that you are today?
Okay. Well, so talking about my parents, I have two bipolar backgrounds. So my dad grew up on the streets of Vietnam. He was a war veteran. He's mentally ill to this day from being in the war. He maybe has up to middle school education. Then I have my mom who graduated college, was an architect in the 80s, which was unheard of for women at the time. And they grew up from two completely different backgrounds. So my dad's family didn't have as much. My mom's family had a lot. And I've been able to see both sides of it. So I always joke around about being half of my dad and half of my mom. That's where what do I call myself, a nice shark? That's where I get that from. So my mom's almost like the Mother Teresa of people, not even jokingly. And then my dad's the one that's like, if they want to fight you, fight them then. So I've had both of those things growing up. And I think that I needed both of those things to be exactly who I am today, because I wouldn't have that fight without my dad. He's the one that taught me to stand up for myself. Just like now when I have to go to bat for my clients, or I have to go to bat for somebody on my team or somebody in the community, I have that fight in me. And so I like to be a sincere leader. I like to be very straight, and I like to be very authentic. So I'm very transparent, I'm authentic. What you see is what you get. That's the type of leader that I am. There's not a ton that I hide unless if it's something personal that just the world doesn't need to know. Those are different, but I would say be authentic. You think that, you know, I've sat in panels before. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Like, I joked around about eating government cheese once in Washington, D.C., and the room was like, oh. And then after that specific panel, I had 9 people come up to me and be like, I ate the government cheese too. Like, I ate the government cheese too. And I didn't realize such a statement would be so impactful to everybody who actually grew up like that too. But it's just the authenticity of it. People don't want to hear something stuffy. They want to see what's real. They want to hear what's real. They want to know what you've been through, especially if they look up to you and they think that everything's always been easy for you, but it hasn't. These are the stories we need to share with one another so we can inspire one another and help each other through, somebody's going through it right now, every single thing that I'm talking about. And if I can impact at least one person every time I speak, then it's worth it.
It is definitely worth it. Man, sorry. What about those values and that leadership? What are you transmitting to your kids? How are you a leader every day with your kids? What do you see them modeling without you having to tell them?
When I was growing up, it was like weird. Oddly, I was bullied. You wouldn't think the way knowing me now but there was a couple people that said some really mean things to me. So I've taught my kids, if you see something not right going on, you better stand up for those kids and say something. I don't want them growing up to be those little jerks that are causing it. And if they happen to be those little jerks and your kids end up being the kid that did that, then they need to learn how to apologize. So there's been times, they've come to me about situations and maybe they weren't right. And I don't allow them to just be excused by it. What do I do? I'm like, say you're sorry. Go back and say you're sorry and go fix it. And what can I do to be better? Like people, we're all human at the end of the day, so we've all been jerks to other people. And usually I find that people that are mean to other people, it's just because they're going through something. If they say something, it's because at that time something good is not happening in their life. So I have forgiven people before because I'm like, you just weren't in a place where you were happy. And people how they feel inside their heart. So if they're not nice, maybe it's because nobody's ever been mean to them. So people counter that by being mean back, and I'm like, why don't you just try to be nice? Because what if you're the only person that's been nice to them? You're able to change their attitude. So I try to instill that in my children. Number one, to be kind to others, and then not be that bully. But number two, if they do make mistakes, to own up to it. And I think nowadays everybody just points fingers at everybody else instead of being like, my bad, I messed up, I'm sorry. And I've had to do that in my leadership journey too, where I'm like, I thought they did something wrong, but when I thought about it, I was like, you know what, I could have handled it differently. I'm sorry. Can we sit down and can we talk about it? What did I do to upset you? How can I fix it? How can I be better? Same thing with my team all the time. They coach me on so many different things. I'm so straight that sometimes my communication comes across as a little bit too mean or too straightforward for a lot of people. It's something I know I have to work on, and I know that, you know, if you're a good leader, you're gonna make mistakes too, and you work on it every day to be just a little bit better. You try to get better at those things. So that's what I teach my kids. Be authentic.
How are you a leader for yourself?
Oh man, am I a leader for myself? I don't know. It's just this weird thing. I had this conversation. I was in Santa Monica and I was sitting with some leaders from a bank, which I won't mention. And we sat there, we started talking about our stories. And I brought up the chosen ones, and everybody's face like stopped at the table. They oddly all knew what I was talking about. And so I always push myself to do a little bit more, even though I want to quit like every other day. But I realize at some point there are people that are chosen, whether you've been thrown into that position, if you've organically just been introduced into a right place, right time, whatever. If you happen to be one of those chosen ones and you're put in a position of power, at that point you have a social responsibility. So I'm a leader to myself because I always have to go and check myself with, hey, is this behavior aligned with what you're going out and trying to teach other people to do? And if it's not, maybe I need to take a step back and rethink it through. And then, you know, as I want to give up and not do this work, there is that moral side of me that's like, if you don't do it, who's going to do it? So I'm constantly pushing myself, even though sometimes I don't have the energy to, but you know, depending on what's going on in the different communities, sometimes you don't have that choice. If you are that chosen one and you are put in that position, then it's almost like a moral obligation from the universe or the world to go do something and do what you can to make a difference. So I push myself all the time. It's like I said, I don't even, you know, want to be online or in pictures or anything or any of these leadership positions anymore. I'm an introverted extrovert. That's what I've become. If ever there was such a thing, that's like an oxymoron to say that, but I am an introverted extrovert now. When I'm out of, you know, events and things like that, all I want to do is sit at home and not talk to anybody and not talk, just be by myself. That's literally what I enjoy nowadays.
Well, I think, kind of going back to, right, the leadership is a lifestyle. You don't have to be a chosen one to lead.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a chosen one to decide to be a good person, to decide to lead by example, to put your little grain of sand, right, and smile at someone. Sometimes all it takes is a smile to make someone else's day better. Sometimes you don't have to be this big conglomerate thing, right? I think it goes back to sometimes we forget and we're like, oh, I'm not in that position, so I don't have to do these things. I'm not Lisa, so I don't have to go out and give stuff to the homeless. I don't have to call my friends and check in on them because I'm not her or I'm not in these positions, right? But it doesn't matter. It's our responsibility as a society, as a community, as a species to one another, right? We're all here together. That I know of, this is the only planet we got.
Yeah, and you might be that to somebody.
Right.
Your best friend, other friends, people you meet. You think you're not, but you are.
Right. You mean something to someone, and it is our responsibility to lead by example, right? We've all had those friends, right, that pressure us to drink, that pressure us to hang out all night. And it doesn't mean that it's all bad, but when it's a consecutive bad, is that really someone showing true leadership, right, in their lives and in ours? Or is it the other opposite, right? If I'm gonna invite Lisa to go work out and I'm like, let's go work out, let's go work out, let's go work out, you have both sides.
Yeah, you can influence those friends that drink a lot. Hey, let's take a break. Let's start walking.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go out to eat. Let's do something really good with our time and be like, let's just take a break from it. You know, even if they are and they're in that place and for whatever reason why they're doing it, then try to influence them to do something else. That's being a leader too. Being a leader to your children, being a leader to your community, you know, like helping, whether they're even in leadership positions. There's leaders everywhere. You don't realize parents are leaders even. Teachers are leaders. Service workers are leaders. Counselors are leaders. Therapists are leaders.
You at the DMV are a leader. But it's right. It's all how we treat each other, right? And if we go out and try and put a smile on our face, if we go out and try and just do better, slowly but surely, every day, it's gonna be 365 days later, right? That we're gonna see impact. But we all gotta do it together. It's not we can't wait for the government or our governors or our I don't know, the artists or singers to carry us, right? Or influencers to carry us. We all have a responsibility to do better every day for each other, for our community, for ourselves, for our kids, for our future.
And you just don't know how long you have on this earth. I have just seen so many people go away. Like one day they're here, literally the next day they're gone. So if that was the last thing that you did in that day before not knowing when your last day is and living like that, you know, it kind of gives a new perspective to life, right? We think we have so much time, but really we don't. We don't know when our last day is. What's that last thing that you want to be known for before you pass away?
What do you want to be known for? Now that you're bringing it up.
I hope that I will be known for always smiling at people and making them feel a little bit better or giving really good hugs or um, leaving them a little bit better than I found them, whether that was something big or something small. I hope people would say that I was kind and it was genuinely kind and not fake kind. I hope that I've passed other leaders behind me. I hope that I raised really good children. That's probably one of the biggest legacies I can ever leave behind is making sure that I raise 3 kind human beings that they grow up to be good people. That would probably hurt me more than anything that, you know, because I am responsible for my children as their mother, so.
Yes.
Raising people that will be contributing members to society later are your children, so. That's how I hope to be remembered. I don't care about all the titles and all that other stuff. I just hope that I left your life a little bit better than I found it after you met me.
How do you want to be remembered when you go, right? What are you doing different? With that, we're going to end it. We're going to close it today. I want to say thank you for everyone to listening to us. Thank you, Lisa. I hope you enjoyed it.
I didn't know what I was going to be talking about till a couple days ago. We kind of impromptu this. So.
Well, that's the whole point of this is we got to do this raw, right? I like to throw people under the bus and just not prepare you. So it's just, it comes out in the moment. Yeah. You don't got to think about it. You don't have to. You don't write a script. There is no script.
No.
Just like life, there is no script to life, right? You gotta go in the moment. And my favorite word is F it. We're just gonna go with it, right?
Yeah, and I usually just say the other word.
You do say it?
Yeah, except I shouldn't, but
I said it. I said it earlier on the other one. I was like, oh, F it. That's my motto. I literally have a screenshot. And I guess I'm gonna share this. Something that I do a lot is I meditate, and I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I quit, then I let myself get into my life, and I've been going back into it lately. And yesterday I was telling my best friend, I was like, this came into my mind, and the word, I'm like, 2 nights ago I was like, I literally heard it for over an hour, just like that.
Execute, right? Just get it done.
Just like that. It was
get
over and over and over and over and over.
Stop talking about it and just go do it.
Yep. So, I don't know, some mantra went in my brain, right? So it's like, go out there, go execute, be a good leader. Be a good leader for yourself and for your children. If you don't know how to be a good leader, we're in the age of over information.
Mm-hmm.
You could find information, you could be on TikTok. You don't have to stop scrolling. You could just change your algorithm, right? You can go on YouTube. There's free courses, there's paid courses, there's a whole bunch of mentors. Reach out to me, I could be your coach. But it's time to change, right? It's time to change, and change starts with us. And that's, again, that's part of the whole purpose of Success Without Borders, is to build a community, to bring it open, to show it live, and to just be real and raw. We're all human beings, we all make mistakes, and we're out here doing it. I'm out here doing it, choking on my saliva right now. It's gonna be fine. Just do it, right? Just do it, said Nike. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, Lisa, again. I hope you come back and join us.
Yeah.
And if you guys need anything, again, reach out. See you next time.
See ya.